And that's JT. No secrets. Just truth. Jezreel, Emil Kavan. You will reach your destiny. You will reach the end of the dream that you live like a king and a queen. I say to you, be not afraid, for you are special indeed. The children of destiny, the outcasts of society, for the truth of reality. Generations, ancestors of past and old have given their life so that your life could matter. Now it's time to be changed. Now it's time to change. The world that you see, you are the beacon, the light, the lighthouse on the hill in the wilderness of darkness. Let your voices be heard, each one loud and proud.
It seems that the Republican Party, because they have not one but two elections, will make war with the poor, make war with the children that is supposed to be our future, a generation that is supposed to be able to look at us and want to emulate us. They stoop to a low, looking at us like we are American slaves, that we must beg and plead. Hope and pray for some kind of assistance. Those who live beyond, underneath poverty will be homeless. Their children will go hungry. The cutting of food stamps at the tune of $40 billion. When it is like $1.50 per meal is what they're giving a family of four to live on for a month. The system has always been rigged. Prices go up at the beginning of the month when food stamps roll out. So the grocery store makes out like a fat cat. As soon as all the money is spent on the food stamp cards, prices are cut. Children who are going hungry at home are about to lose the one meal they get a day that's warm, something filling. We're not allowing our young kids to enroll in school, which is not allowing single parents to have a full-time job. It is going way too far, and somebody has to say something. The Generation Zero are the voiceless that we must begin to speak about. They're arguing over Obamacare, but that is to ensure that the poor, children, adults
are checked out and screened for diseases that lie in wait and hit when you are in your prime. I know this because I was diagnosed with lupus in my 20s when I hit my prime. I was making good money, but slowly and slowly the disease began to progress. A lot of the fast food industry who make $7.25 must struggle to pay their rent, must struggle to buy school supplies, struggle to buy school clothes and school shoes for their children. This is morally outrageous. Denying children a chance to be healthy. Obamacare will eliminate a child suffering with no backup plan for care because their parents are making $18,000 a year or $19,000 a year or $20,000 a year or $21,000 a year. Because they make over the poverty line by a few dollars, they are denied Medicaid and Medicare. We're talking about diabetic children whose main support are their parents. But we already know that there's more divorces than there are marriages in this country. So most of the parents are single. And they must make sure that their child remain healthy. Because if they're not healthy, they will be spending time out of the workplace when hours count. They have turned us into American slaves because they have closed the door to full-time positions. They're taking away health care to the employees, or making sure that they never hit that mark to get insured. And some of these insurance policies are frauds. They ask for way too much as far as the deductible. It is an ER plan, which means you have to be critically about to die to use your insurance that will take up at least 50% of your check. It is time for us to begin to have a moral backbone. It's time for us to see that we have been turned into American slaves. That we are not just waging a war on middle class families, but we are decimating the poor. Those who cannot speak out for themselves. Those who cannot change the fate or the cards that they were dealt. Peddling the idea that you would have to work for your food stamps benefits. Assuming that there is a job out there with the unemployment rate at 7.3%. But if you break it down, the Mexicans
and African Americans are farther up the scale at 18 and 16% unemployed. But still, the facts. They have created online applications to exclude the poor
from being able to get a job. Now they offer you plenty of time on their sites as long as you take their litmus test.
Not knowing what you score, not knowing what your position is in line, not knowing
who to call to check on your status. It is a downright war on the poor. It's time to strip away the word of Christian nation. Not only do we supply guns to rebels, terrorists, warlords, we drop bombs on innocent women and children. Mistakes in drone operations killing innocent people. But we love to call ourselves a Christian nation. But we turn our children who join the military into killers. No different than those of a gunshot going off on our streets. No different than the gangs killing. I have a proposal that will save the government a lot of money. Those who commit violent crimes must be enlisted into the military. Those who have been convicted of murder should serve in the military. No jail time. Let them go fight and kill. And let our innocent children grow up to be young adults with moral character, instead of signing them up at 18 and putting them in battles that they have nothing to do with. The military offers 4 years, but you give us your life and your beliefs. Thou shalt not kill. So those who are warriors, those who have died by IEDs, those who have died in a line of service, we call them heroes. And you call the thugs on the streets murderers. They're turning us into American slaves, sitting on $1.6 trillion. The biggest companies refuse to hire because productivity has gone up. Their employees are working as if they're 2 people, just to be able to take home a check to pay their mortgage, to put gas in the car, to have food to eat. We know this to be true because all we have to do is look at our families. I am tired of those who say that my tax dollars are wasted?
What about the one who just stuck their arm out there, hand you McDonald's?
Who pay a part of their check in taxes,
and yet is still not entitled to having some kind of support? What about Target and Walmart,
who profit off of paying them wages that they can't live off of?
What happened to the dead peasant insurance that they do,
where they take out insurance policies on their workers so that if they die,
they can collect money without giving anything to the families? We
are a nation that should be ashamed.
It is patriotic to help another American, but it's not patriotic to sit back and judge another American when you have done your lion's share of mistakes. My mother always used to say,
stand up the bullies when they pick on the other kids,
because you never know whether you're next. So send a message to the bully. Look at those in authority and ask them who gave them the power to do what they're doing. We must look at the Republican Party
and decide that we're going to use our votes in 2014
to give the Democrats
back the House and the Senate so that they can continue doing the work of making sure
that more and more Americans get their jobs back, better jobs, so that more and more Americans can be lifted out of poverty, so that we can begin to do the work of true healing.
So we can really see how lean, mean our government can be.
Our government is supposed to be made by the people and for the people.
Yet these people go to Congress
willing to do anything to get their own agenda taken care of. You want to talk about the $16 trillion debt that came from
the Afghanistan war, the Iraq war that Bush had carried on?
Obama just sprung it to light and put it on the table so that you would see what he actually did.
It is why he hides in his ranch. It is why you don't see him offering his services to candidates on the Republican side. He wants you to forget what happened in Katrina as he flew over and did nothing. Hired a horse trainer to run FEMA. Let's talk about what the president, who has been the worst president, be without blame. It's a shame that they keep saying they want to impeach Obama. And I want Bush charged for illegal war in Iraq. They were innocent.
innocent. No weapons of mass destruction. Nothing to do with 9/11. No Al-Qaeda operating on their soul. And they killed Saddam Hussein, an innocent man in the situation as it was. As Bush called it, his mission was called shock and awe.
His tax cuts that made the rich
even richer in any time in history. But see, those who don't look at the facts, those who don't know our monetary policies,
those who don't know about derivatives or the NASDAQ or S&P or the Dow,
don't know what fiat currency is, those who don't know what the World Bank do or the IMF, those who don't know debt ratio to GDP. The Fed is now pumping $85 billion in the stock market
just to keep us moving along.
If he was to stop now, inflation would soar. Interest rates will go up through the roof. It will be the end
as we know it. But let us deal with the crisis at hand.
Never in their life have they ever extorted a president over a necessary peace. That has been vetted and approved by the Supreme Court. That it does not violate the rights of Americans. But that over the long run, it will reduce the health care costs. It will stop those who go into the emergency room as a last ditch effort.
And ditch out on the bills. You should be for Obamacare.
Because you will know that your health is the last thing you will have to worry about. Your children's health
is the last thing you will have to worry about. I have a family member who makes $28,000 a year. He doesn't qualify for Medicaid or Medicare. He has diabetes. His son has developmental issues, but they will have to jump through hoops and pray to God to get him the help that he needs. There are millions of families who have children who have asthma, severe asthma, that they are paying a pretty penny to make sure their child do not die. There are more children with diabetes than any other time in our lifetime. We could get heart attacks under control. We can stop strokes before they happen. We can look at making cures for cancer on the savings of Obamacare. We can end HIV under Obamacare. I have lupus.
And we are searching for a cure. Those with Crohn's disease is searching for a cure. How are we a Christian nation when we condemn ourselves, believing that we're not next? The middle class
felt like they were superior until 2008.
Now they secretly go to the food bank. They secretly go to the thrift stores. They secretly go and take up the resources for the homeless, the poor, the children.
And there will be those who argue that's not true, when it is the truth. The shelters are packed. There are families living in their cars. Walking around Walmart until it gets dark and find somewhere to lay down for the night. Not knowing whether they will have a roof over their head. We have a lot of adults with mental illness because the stress that is coupled with the damage of your childhood life. For those who are trying to end a cycle, it's not just our military that suffers with PTSD. For the first time, I will admit that I have PTSD. I was abused for 14 years. Not allowed to go anywhere but school and home. Like clockwork, I would get 2 to 3 beatings a day. Because of the mental status of my mother. She never really worked a job long enough after the divorce from my father, who went to jail for rape. We were born into hell. It is the reason why I say that I was baptized by fire. Because I lived in the prison of the ghetto. Well, people don't drive through. That they call our subsidized living a waste of their tax dollars. They would condemn the neighborhood and the children in it that are innocent. They call us bastards and illegitimate children. You know, I have to remind people, my mother was married when she gave birth to me. I'm not a bastard. To hear comments from managers that talked about the employees like dogs, leaking their personal information, knowing they were poor because of their zip code, getting a tax credit for hiring someone in a certain zone that doesn't make enough money. So you hire them for the credit. Someone in your family getting food stamps? More the merrier. Are they receiving a check? It was the hardest thing for me to do as a manager, knowing what it's like to be looked at and being judged for where you come from.
American slaves,
having to have them fill out those forms and approve it over the phone for the IRS.
As I said, that the poor don't have access to Wi-Fi.
They don't have laptops and computers. They can't afford it.
I'm tired of people making no sense at all talking about welfare checks. Those checks are not enough
for anyone to live off of, let alone a family.
I remember when my mother was on welfare, $297
to pay rent, buy toilet paper, the essentials that we needed. Not enough money left over to buy us shoes and clothes.
We had to make sure that we made do with what we had. We couldn't waste anything. We
deserve a chance. And people sit in churches on Sunday, sitting pious and righteous like, believing that they will go to heaven before those who are less fortunate, because they are saved. But if it reminds me of a book I read, it had something like Gospels written. And in it, there was a man who came into this world and went to the poor.
He gave a sermon on the mount.
Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they will see the kingdom. I refuse to believe that every Christian is real Christian.
You're not a real Christian until you do what the Jehovah's Witnesses do.
They go to any neighborhood and every neighborhood, and they knock on your door, waking you up, offering you a chance to know the Lord. When the last time have you seen a mega church take on a project to change the projects, to change the ghetto, to teach people how to survive and budget their money, how to make it,
help them finish their education, GED, offer daycare for the children so they can lift them out of poverty.
In our churches, we sit back and say, that's not our job. We make up excuses
and illusions of why they're poor.
They're poor because they dropped out of school. Not every child
dropped out of school because they were up to no good.
Not every child had a choice. The drugs were pushed into our neighborhoods. Malt liquor sold at our stores. But if you went to the good stores, there was no Coke 45, Old E,
records of any kind. Don't tell me that the things that happen to the poor is their fault. Start drinking malt liquor because you can't find a job. You end up raping your daughter because you're drunk off your mind. You're smoking crack and doing heroin, and you beat your kids because they in the way. You lock your kids out of the house so that you can drink and smoke weed, and the kids are outside and there's no bathroom, and they use the bathroom on themselves because they couldn't hold it. Don't call me a liar because I grew up in the inner city. I was there when the little girl shit her pants but couldn't go home because she was locked out for a day while they were so busy getting high and drunk. Then the little girl proceeded to get a beating because she used the bathroom on herself without her choice. Even my family struggling to get ahead, but continue to get behind. In most cities, they can't afford the bus fare, so they do what they can to get a car, but we all know it's a long way from a bus to have a car. You gotta have money for when the fan don't mess up. You gotta be prepared for if the transmission no longer works. What happened to a village raised the kids? We are American slaves, getting paid minimum wage, being talked about, being belittled, being told that we are insignificant, and wonder why we don't believe in the flag. Because the poor are not taken care of, neither by the church or the state. There is no hope but believing that there is a God. And it's sad to say in the inner city, they don't believe in the God that the middle class believe in. They want nothing to do with your Christianity brand. Because your brand saves not a child's life. Hiding behind the Bible, but refusing to do the work. I often remind people it's going to be a showdown, and I want to see. Because I want to see those who got baptized and saved and think they're going into the kingdom of God. And yet have done his work. Read the 7 to the 7 churches. Read about the 144,000. Read about the 2 witnesses. It is time that we begin to address the issue of mental health, child care, education. Why can't the companies who make the most money invest in schools, cutting edge schools? By the time that children are in middle school, to be able to take classes towards what they want for the future. So that when they get into high school, they can begin to earn college credits, which will ease the load on the colleges. They will not be teaching basic arithmetic and English as courses as they do in many colleges. The students won't be bogged down with so much debt. Go over there and keep them happy. It is time that we call out our government. It is time that we call out the false Christians. Who hijacked the Bible. Who despise African Americans because they are kings and queens. The jury's in. Life was created in Africa. Most of the Bible played out in Africa. Jesus was Jewish. Had nothing to do with Christianity. King James decided what would be in the Bible. You don't have the whole Bible. And the Bible that you hold, you don't understand. But you like the certain passages that makes you sound intelligent. Make it seem like you have real faith. Matthews tells us that we have only one prayer to pray. Yet we send vain prayers up. We believe materialistic things show off how God has blessed us. You're so wrong. Because you truly are heartless. You have no compassion for the poor, for the sick. Unless they are one of you. Often, Caucasian people look at black people and say they're offended when they hear the word nigger. But you coined it for us. You spent so much time beating us abusively from slavery to civil rights. You broke the mentality of a strong family, of a mother and father. Now you looking at children being born without their mother and father being married. Shame on you. We are American slaves, and it's time we do something to let the world know we are not going to be locked out or put out on the streets. We refuse to be hungry anytime in our life.